Sounds great. Hey, so welcome everybody to Coffee with Matt. Hope everybody is enjoying their, um, late spring, early summer coming this way. But I just wanted to kind of start the call by just laying out if you guys have questions, feel free to put in the chat. We're happy to answer any questions. With me on the call today is, Joe Kosniewski, who's our head of marketing, as well as Salman Sadiq, who's also on the team, and he's our kind of wealth management expert. So they'll be following up, and if you have questions along the way, feel free to ask them. For those that are new to Coffee with Matt, what we'll do today is we'll do a quick run through of the TrueWealth platform. I'll give you a little bit of context kind of before we get into that. We won't put any slides on you there. We're just going to talk through a couple things, and we'll get you out of here, within 20 minutes max. So again, Matt Reed, Chief Revenue Officer here at Powerlytics. Today we're going to talk you through our prospecting and targeting tool called TrueWealth. And so we will kind of demo what that capability looks like, what the platform does, talk about a few use cases, and again, feel free to use the chat if you have questions. So Powerlytics, I'll give you a few, kind of bullet points for you to, understand who we are. So we've actually been around for 10 plus years. We have been focused mainly on the banking, lending, credit union space, and have recently, over the last year or plus, have moved into wealth. What makes us unique is our data. Powerlytics started, like I said, 10 plus years ago. We have figured out, and the core IP, intellectual property that we bring to the table, and certainly a differentiated solution that we've, created was a data solution that allowed firms, whether it be banking, lending, wealth management, you name it, to leverage our data to drive client acquisition. And so that data set is very unique in the fact that it is actually source of truth data derived from publicly available tax data. And so, our founder worked behind the firewall of the U.S. government back in the late 2000s, recession, in the Great Recession. And so, with that institutional knowledge, was able to take what he knew, apply it to publicly available data that the government puts out there. So, you just think about all the data the government does put out there. There's tax data, there's census data, DOL data, Fed Reserve data, and we've taken all that data, kind of brought it together, kind of re-engineered it down to the individual consumer level, and have built a financial profile for every U.S. consumer. And so we have full coverage across the U.S., well, essentially everyone who files a tax return. And with that, we've been able to deliver very unique insights to our customers. Again, focused mainly on client acquisition. We'll go through a couple examples from a prospecting perspective on the wealth side. But again, we've been in the banking and lending space for a long time. That financial profile for a consumer has been used in a slew of different use cases, both from underwriting and understanding their customers better, and also from a wallet share expansion use case as well. And then also from a net new targeting, prospecting, offers, things like that, that allow them to be way more efficient in their outbound, right? And so today we're going to talk you through that platform. We have built a really simple SaaS, software solution on top of the data, so that any individual advisor or person who's interested in getting access doesn't have to do a big API integration or download a huge data set. They can simply swipe a credit card and have access to the data right then and there. And so we've made it very simple to do that. So I'll share my screen, just kind of give you some visuals of the solution. And I'll talk to you a little about the data as well as I go through it. And so Powerlytics, right? What you're going to see here is, again, a source of truth data set derived from tax data. And so what you're going to see here is the ability to understand a household's total financial profile, both income and investable assets. And so when you think about what that looks like and why we do what we do, and why we're a company, you can think how valuable that data would be to shorten sales cycles, shorten conversion cycles, be more effective in your outbound, understanding your ICP, and carving out a very unique list so that you can then include that into your marketing recipe, right? I like to say that Powerlytics is a key ingredient in a marketing recipe, right? So whether that be, a one-man shop or a huge enterprise firm, we play a unique role in the fact that we're able to add a ton of value in their outbound strategy and targeting, and also helping them with identifying next best customer and all the other things that I'm sure you folks are interested in. So from a data perspective, what you'll see is, and we'll show you on the platform, we have a total investable asset data set in addition to a income data set. And so for every household or consumer or investor, you will see income as well as a total investable asset number, which is also further broken down into retirement and non-retirement. And so you'll see those broken out in the platform. For those that are interested, like I said, we will have a follow up with information to how to sign up after the call. But if you go to our website, powerlytics.com/TrueWealth, you'll see all the information you need. You can see a demo of the platform. You'll see a refresher of what's included. We've wrapped this data along with a very unique marketing database, so that not only do you know their income and assets, but that person's age, email, phone number, so you can include that in your outbound. From a pricing perspective, we've created four really simplistic packages based on a bunch of feedback. The smallest package is just under $1,000 a year, which is inclusive of 500 prospects. And certainly we could tailor any sort of packaging that you want on the larger end, but you can see down below here, kind of a Costco model. The more you buy, the cheaper the per unit cost. But again, that's a licensing fee for the year. You have access to that 500 data prospects if you bought the base package for in perpetuity until you use them all up. So technically it's a license, but you have access to use your credits as long and in perpetuity, like I said, until you use them all up. So that's the pricing package. Again, when you sign up, it's going to ask you similarly to register, put in your credit card, swipe, do all that stuff, and then right then and there you'll have instant access to the platform. So with that, I'm going to jump into the platform. So when you first log in, you're going to see exactly what you see here on my screen, which is kind of a world, a U.S. map and an ability to kind of start at a geographical location and then kind of go into kind of different data buckets and carve out your unique ICP. So kind of starting at the top here, I'm going to, I'm in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to use that as an example here. So I'm going to start again at the geographical level. So you can put in many different zip codes. You can put in a city, county, totally up to you how you want to do this. You can choose, within the surrounding areas of your office, you can choose all the zip codes within that. It's up to you how you want to search the data. So I'm going to pull up my Bucks County 18901 in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And so what that's going to do is just simply pull back a full list of everyone in that zip code. And so you'll see there's 16,678 households prospects in that geographical location of that zip code. And again, this is based on their home address. And so from there, now I have some, summary level stats, average investable assets, average income, just some information about the area, not too actionable, but it gives you some ideas about different geographical locations and their affluent areas and things like that. So from here, now you're starting to get into kind of pulling back the onion and getting into your ICP of, who you're targeting, right? So, many different use cases for this. We have folks that, maybe focused on, the Henrys of the world who have, high earning, not rich yet, who have, high income, but don't have a lot of investable assets. So that's a very common thread around getting in front of these folks who probably don't have an advisor yet. So, could be a good opportunity to penetrate that market, and we could carve that out and you can find that list within any different area. So really unique data set there. I'm just going to run a traditional, search where I'm like, hey, my target audience is, between 5 and let's say 10 million, maybe 15, but 5 million is maybe my starting point. You could go as low to zero, but just for the sake of the demo today, I'll start at 5. But let's say I'm looking at 5 million and up in assets, and I'm going to leave the top bar there the same. Again, I mentioned we have buckets of total investable assets. So we bucket investable assets into two, qualified, non-qualified, retirement, non-retirement. And then we also further break down non-retirement into interest bearing. So that's your bonds, your CDs, your money markets, your checking, savings, and then anything other than that, your equities, it would show up in the equity bucket. You won't see any product information. This is just literally, asset level data. There's no product details in here. That's not obviously available in any sort of publicly available data. So again, just to refresh, I'm just looking at folks that make between 5 million and 10 million in AUM or in assets, and I'm going to carve out, let's call it 200K in income, upwards to a million plus. Let's do a million here. So again, 5 to 10 million in assets, between 200,000 in household income to a million. From a age perspective, I'm just going to look at like kind of pre-retirees. So let's call it, 40 to 58. I can even make that 60 if you wish. Let's do that. And I'm not going to search on any sort of gender, but you can do that. Some people like to do that in head of household. We don't have an indicator for head of household. It's not a publicly available data set, but we do have the ability to kind of just sort on, just one person within the household. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit update. So what that's doing is taking those parameters and applying it to my initial 16,000 plus households. And so what you're going to see here is a much smaller list. So we're just under 900 prospects that met that criteria, which was between the ages of 40 and 60, have greater than 200,000 to a million in income, and assets of 5 to 10 million. And so at this point, if I already purchased a package or if I wanted to go in and buy this is the opportunity to do that. So what you're going to do is you'll see how many you have available based on your criteria. And then based on the package, you'll have a bucket of credits, right? So if I purchase that 500 credit bucket, I would then need additional, 387 to do so. Or I could just say, you know what, I only want, the top 250. You could also do that. And so all that he said is you have the complete ability to ensure that you are getting exactly what you want. Even if that list provided you with 900 and say, you know what, I only want the top 250 or the top 100 or the top 50, right? You can definitely do that within the platform. So I'm going to hit confirm. So what that's doing is taking that 253, applying it to my bucket of credits I've already purchased, and then presenting me with a very simple list of those folks within that area code of Doylestown 18901 that meet that criteria. And so what you'll see here is a concise list of sorted by assets. Again, 5 to 10 million was my search of total investable assets broken down by retirement, and then also interest bearing, equity related, et cetera. Then also including total income. And so you'll see your address here as you scroll to the right. You'll see address, you'll see zip code, you'll see phone number, you'll see home phone. We have emails where applicable. And so you'll have a full list of actionable intelligence on a targeted ICP that you just searched on. And at this point, just to give you a couple kind of navigational things, you can download any of these reports. These are yours to have. A lot of folks are pulling them into like a CRM to, put into their Marketo or Pardot, whatever you guys are using from a marketing automation solution. Some folks who may have junior advisors may have this like a call campaign or an outbound campaign that this will bolster and be, again, that ingredient in a larger outbound marketing recipe. For those on the kind of a larger firm, we see a lot of big firms or, larger firms use this as part of their institutional organic growth strategy. For those individuals on the phone, again, this is just a really easy and simple way to identify folks within your community or that you're not aware of that might be a good target, and then you can kind of do some additional work. I mean, a lot of folks will overlay this with some LinkedIn research and other stuff so that they can get an identifier like connections that also, that know these people. You obviously know how to do your own prospecting, so I won't go through that too much. But yeah, this is a really unique data set that allows you to kind of bring this all together within the existing research you've already been doing on, your outbound. Just kind of scrolling back over here at the bottom. Um, so again, you'll see, you know, investable assets. The other thing that you'll notice here is there's a kind of a similar, the same information for a bucket of folks. And the reason being is, and I won't get into too much of the sausage making here, but these two folks live at the same, two different addresses, right? We have the Benizri family, and we have Max and Melissa over here. They live at, their next door neighbors, right? What we do to maintain privacy of the data, and then two, just sheer our ability to get down to an individual consumer level is limited with public data. However, we actually have a very unique way of figuring out how to get down to a household level. And so what we do is we aggregate the data at a 3 to 4 household view, which is based on zip 4. So again, little sausage making here for those on the phone. If you obviously everyone's familiar with zip codes, there's 40,000 zip codes in America, right? And then you'll see this little 4-digit thing, which you probably don't know what that means, but generally speaking, that's called your zip 4, and that is about 3 to 4 households on average, and that's kind of basically similarly your neighbor across the street and left and right. So there's 40 million zip 4s in the U.S. So for example, for myself, my zip 4 is my neighbor across the street and the one to the left and right of me. And so that's the level of aggregation that we get down to. Again, this data is completely frictionless, meaning there's no customer involvement. You don't need to do any data aggregation or have any plaid logins. This is completely accessible and permissionable for any use that you want to use it for. The aggregation at the household level is still very predictable. And the fact that it's, again, 3 to 4 households. And so, what you'll see here is there's only 2 households in this zip 4. And again, most people, as you know, tend to look and feel like their neighbors. And we have a lot of algorithms in the background that allow us to tweak that data. But again, just kind of going back to my first point around the data and the quality of it, we've been around for 10 years, 10 plus years. Our data has been used in some of the largest banks to help them fill gaps in their underwriting process, right? So if you think about underwriting, right, the regulatory legality of using a third-party data set to, give a loan or underwrite a loan, we have gone through very strict OCC and, fair banking, hurdles to have them use our data. And so, why I bring that up into saying that the accuracy is still there at the zip 4 level. And so, again, we have large banks using us for underwriting. From a marketing perspective, you can see it's still very useful and valuable in driving, better outbound strategy around who you should reach out to and folks in your area that meet your ICP. So I know it's a little bit, sausage making behind the scenes, but I did want to call that out in the fact that, that is, certainly a unique, story of how we collect the data and leverage it from public data set, get down to essentially, zip 4, and then we've married that with marketing and address data to actually fill out the zip 4 and who lives there, what's their name, email, contact, etc. I said a lot. Hopefully you guys, on the phone are following. If there's any questions, feel free to hit me right now. But again, just kind of gonna refresh and just kind of give everybody a summary. Powerlytics been around 10 plus years. We have figured out how to take publicly available tax data and build a consumer financial profile for every U.S. consumer. Data is aggregated at the zip 4 level, which is generally about 3 to 4 households. That data is completely, permissionable and useful, and can be used for any sort of, marketing outbound strategy you have as part of your firm. The platform is available, a snap of, a quick snap. All you need to do is log in, register, put in your credit card, and off you go. We'll be sending along with the follow-up a 20% package discount. So if you go to the packages, you'll have the ability to do that as part of the demo and joining us today at Coffee with Matt. I think I had one question pop up. Joe, is that right?
Yeah, the question was, how do we get this? And I put a link in the chat for everyone to click through, and you can purchase right there on the page on our website.
Perfect. Yeah, and like again, we'll send out a follow-up email, but if you pretty it's pretty simple. If you go to powerlace.com, you click on True Wealth up here, you can go to login. What that's going to do is take you to a registration screen. Typical registration. It's integrated with Stripe. So it'll ask you, name, email, things like that. And then within that, there's, you'll choose your package. Within that package screen, there's ability to put in a discount code or promo code. We'll include that as a follow-up as well. And then you can be on your way. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And I really appreciate you guys joining me today. And yeah, hopefully this was exactly what you were hoping it to be. And again, we appreciate your time and have a great rest of your day.